Hey everyone, welcome to this month's content batching party. If we've never met before, my name is Megan. I'm an onboarding and success coach here at MeetEdgar. And I would love to know who's here. In the chat box over right there where Maura just popped into, let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hello to each other. Let us know what industry you're in. If you see someone in a similar industry to yourself, go ahead and share your Facebook handles, your Instagram handles, and connect with each other. One of my favorite parts of doing content batching parties is being able to connect other small businesses to allow you guys to collaborate and get ideas and share from each other. Dawn, welcome from Phoenix. Hello, Nanette from Chicago, very exciting. Lindsay, a DIY blogger from Gulf Shores, Alabama. Ooh, that sounds lovely and warm. So this chat box is going to be great for you guys, again, to ask questions during this time. So I'll be presenting. I'm going to start with a demo of MeetEdgar. If you are a seasoned veteran of Edgar and you know how to use it, go ahead and multitask here for the first 10 minutes or so. I just want to make sure that everyone who's new is pretty familiar with how to add content before we jump into some ideas of what content you can actually whip up your Edgar account while we're on this webinar and start adding content in there. So be patient if you're pretty familiar with Edgar. We will get to the batching part after a first little 10-minute demo here. But as we go along, if you have any questions at all about the product, go ahead and let us know. Maura will do her best to keep up with your questions in the chat over there. Afterwards, if you do have more questions about getting Edgar set up at all, go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com, or I'm going to pop into the chat box this YouTube playlist, which is our onboarding playlist that has short little 2-minute videos of every section of Edgar that'll allow you to kind of see that. Additionally, we do office hours every single day at Edgar. So if you have more questions, this second link I'm putting in there, we'll always have the updated times of when we're running office hours. And those are completely unstructured sessions led by myself, where you can come in, ask a quick question, get a quick demo of something that you need, and we can go from there. But please keep your questions coming at this time. Maureen, Mai, and Diane, welcome, welcome. So good to have you here. Roxanne from Dubai. Oh, so cool. I love being able to connect with people all over the world on these parties. So keep the chat coming. It's one of my favorite parts of these, especially as we are more disconnected now. Utilizing things like the internet to bring us together is truly a great thing. So first and foremost, I'm going to pop in and run a quick demo of how you add content to Edgar. Once we're done with the actual batching part, I'll stay on to answer any questions about like advanced scheduling features, anything like that. So keep your questions coming here. If we don't get to them, I'll stay on at the end for a Q&A as well. If this program cuts out and I drop off when I share my screen, please sit tight. I will be back in 10 seconds. I do apologize if that happens. I think programs all over are being a little overrun right now. So I appreciate your patience if that does happen. Fingers crossed, we'll be able to do this though. Cool. So quick demo of Edgar, then we'll jump into the fun batching stuff. So within MeetEdgar, when you log into your account at first, your first step is going to be to add your social media accounts. So you'll come to your accounts tab here. Go ahead and click on the place where you'd like to add them. Edgar will grab that username and password and hook them up over here to show you. The categories is the next place where you're going to want to get set up. So categories in Edgar are essentially like the buckets of posts. And categories just allow for you to be able to come in and make sure your feed is a diverse, exciting place for your followers to hang out. Because when you think about it, you don't want to just be doing promotion after promotion or the same blog posts all the time. Because that's kind of like if you were a salesperson standing outside of your store and just screaming discounts at people. That's not fun for anyone, and that's not somewhere you'd want to hang out. Same with your social media. You want to give people behind the scenes content. You want to give people tips and quotes and all of this fun stuff. It also makes your batching so much easier because you can get yourself into the routine of saying, okay, once a month, I'm going to come in and add 10 posts to each of these categories. Or once a week, I'm going to add 20 quotes to my quotes category. The next week, I'm going to add 20 blog posts. So you can make sure that when you're creating social content, it's super organized and structured. So when you're thinking about your categories, think about the types of posts you want to send out to people. Once you get categories set up, you can add your own, or you can rename some of the pre-existing ones with this pencil icon here. Once you get your categories set up, it's going to be time to start loading your content. So when you're loading your content into Edgar, manually is going to be done with this Add New Content button here. You're always going to give permissions of where Edgar can send this out to over here on the left. So if you wanted to separate brand messaging or network messaging, just make sure you uncheck the boxes that you don't want this content sent to. Prevents any cross-pollination of different brands if you are using this for multiple brands. Then you're going to select the type of post this is. So from your category, you can write your post right here. Of course, you can attach a photo or a video if you want with these icons in the lower left corner under the text box. Once you're happy with how the post looks, you'll save it to your library. So the library here is just a catalog of all your posts. Everything you add to the library will always remain here. Other ways you can get content into Edgar is going to be in this Import tab. So the Import tab will allow you to upload a spreadsheet of content. We have some pre-populated spreadsheets that'll pop into the chat box if you wanted to use those with just some good quotes and stuff like that. Super simple setup. If you want to learn how the spreadsheet works, just click on that hyperlink and you'll notice that you can come to our help center and it'll show you how it can be formatted with the social media update in the left and with the category in the right column right here. The second part of this is going to be your RSS feed. So this is fantastic if you have a blog or if other people's content on other people's blogs is something you like to share out as recommended reads. Super simple setup here. Just go ahead and type in the URL of what blog. So if I wanted to add every single MeetEdgar blog post, I'm going to put our URL in here and I'm going to click on Find RSS Feed. Edgar will pop up and say, great, there's an RSS feed connected here. What category would you like these to go into? So you pop it into your blog category. What accounts does this have permission to go out to? And then you have a choice to either send these directly to your library or to a pending content queue. So if it's your blog and you know that every single post is going to be relevant, you can send it directly to your library and it'll be eligible to go out in the rotation of your posts depending upon when you put that category on your schedule, which we'll look at in a second. If this is someone else's blog and you want the ability to approve it or reject it, or if you want the ability to edit it first, you can send it to a pending content queue. So Edgar's going to check any RSS feed you add here every 24 hours to see if a new post has been released within that time frame. If it has, he'll pull it over into your library or into your pending queue. So the pending queue is also going to be in the library here. And you'll notice that if you have this little number right here, that's letting you know how many content items you have for rating for approval. So from here, when I click approve it, it'll go to the library. When I click reject, it'll go ahead and tell Edgar, don't share this out. Or I can edit it, which is definitely our recommendation, to add in your own thought leadership, to add in your own kind of brand voice within that before you share it out. So those are going to be your main ways of adding content. There's two ways of scheduling content in Edgar. The schedule tab here is going to be a 1-week view. However, this week repeats over and over again, so you do only have to set it up once. You can see it set up on a category-based system. So I'm going to come on in here and say, Edgar, I would like you to send out a content item on Monday at 10 a.m. I'm going to tell Edgar again what accounts this time slot has permission to send out to. I'm going to go ahead and select what type of post I want to send out at this time. And I can always duplicate this to create consistency across multiple days by using these checkboxes if I want to. When I click save, that category will now appear. So what's going to happen is Edgar will go ahead and say, I'm going to pull the most recent blog post from that category and go ahead and share it out. So it's a last in, first out order. So Edgar will come in here and hit this. The most recent post that you added to this category will be the first post he sends out. He'll then put it to the end of the line in the category and move along. Next time he hits this, he'll send the next update out, put it to the end of the line in the category and move along, and he'll work his way through all of the posts within that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there are no new posts, that's when I'll start from the top again, resurfacing your older posts for new followers to see, as well as those who didn't see it the first time. So as you're getting started, some super easy math to remember this by is saying, if you have 10 posts in a category in your library and you place that category on your schedule once, it'll be 10 weeks before Edgar cycles through the content. If you place it on your category schedule twice, it'll be 5 weeks before Edgar cycles through the content. If you're continuously adding more content into these categories, he'll always favor that new content before he reposts any of the older content. How you know what's going to go out is going to be in this Queue tab. So the Queue tab is going to show you basically where in the rotation of your posts you are. It'll give you the date and it'll give you what's going out. So you don't really do anything to the queue. It is automatically filled and refilled for you. You can pause the queue if you wanted to stop all automation, or you can sort the queue if you want to see what you have going to a certain account over here on the left. Awesome. So one other way of scheduling before we jump into batching is going to be available on the Add New Content screen here. So the Add New Content screen, when you're checking off the accounts you want this to go to and you're writing your post, if you decide this is a post you do not want to be repeated and you only want it to send once, you'll go to Advanced Settings right here and you'll click it as a Use Once post. Once Edgar sends this out, he'll automatically expire it. If this is a post you need to go on a certain day, like a holiday or a one-time discount, go ahead and use this drop-down arrow here and click on Schedule, Send, and Save. This will pop up a box where you can put in a specific day and time. If this is populated, Edgar's going to hold this post until this day and time is reached. He'll send it out to the networks that are attached, and then he'll either expire it if Use Once is checked off, or if Use Once is not checked off, he'll put it to the end of the line in the category, and it'll go back into the rotation of your posts based on when that category is on your schedule. Cool. So like I said, there are a lot more features within MeetEdgar, and I'll go over those at the end of just some kind of special workflows, special use cases, all of that fun stuff. But as we get going, I do want to jump into the batching here. Keep your questions coming so that we can do a fun Q&A at the end. And it is pretty cool to be able to jump on into your account. So if you haven't pulled it up in a different tab, go ahead and pull that up right now as I get this situated. The spreadsheets that we have populated here, I will be sending these out in an email to you guys with the replay of this as well. But if you wanted to take a look at some of our suggestions of like productivity tips, quotes, stuff like that, those are the pre-populated spreadsheets with just some ideas of how you can upload those using the import tab if you want. Awesome. All right, so let's go over quickly here. I'm going to do just a little kind of prelim of the content that we're going to add, and then we're going to jump into actual ideas of what you can add into your account, and you can whip open your account and start adding content today. So this is definitely, I'm sure you've all heard this word a million times in the last few weeks, an unprecedented time in the world, right? None of us really know what we're going to come out with on the end, but we like to have this idea that your mindset has a lot to do with your business right now. So a mindset is something that we can establish on social media to create consistency and bonds with our followers so that when it becomes time to actually go out and buy again, and when people go back out into the world, you are the logical choice of the product or service they're going to purchase from because you have grown a community and because you have resonated with people with the messages you're putting out there and built up trust. So don't just go through this time. Grow through this time. Grow yourself, grow your audience, and use this time to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. So the reason that we do batching parties here is this concept called, would you just bake one cookie? Would you take all of the ingredients out of your cabinet and out of your fridge to bake one cookie? No, you sure wouldn't. You would bake a dozen. You would bake a ton of cookies at one time. Same with your social media status updates. It doesn't make sense for you to task switch and to go from creating, a marketing campaign in the email world to going on and creating one social media status update. That's not a good use of your time. You're going to waste a lot of time onboarding and offboarding from those tasks. So you want to create batches at the same time. Using categories in MeetEdgar, you can actually do some cool math so that you only have to create social media status updates 12 times a year if you batch once a month, right? So you can do this math by going ahead and realizing how many posts do you want to send out during the week. So if you want to send out 5 days a week, every weekday you want to send out posts, say you want to send out 6 posts a day, that's going to be 30 posts a week, right? If we do the math and say how many posts a month is that, that's approximately 120 posts a month. So that can seem a little overwhelming. But if you use a category-based system of posting, you can set yourself a schedule of only having to add 20 posts per category. Say you have 6 categories. You can go in there and make sure that every month you're adding 20 quotes, 20 tips, 20 blog posts, 20 curated articles, and it makes it much more manageable so you don't feel overwhelmed. So however it works for batching, I know some people like to batch once a week. I personally think once a month is cool because you can do that cool 12 times a year social media content engagement. But whatever works for you, just make sure you do that math and set yourself a schedule of when you're going to add to your categories. Put a time block on your calendar and go out there and make sure that you, oh my goodness, my phone's about to ring. I do apologize. There we go. And make sure that you do go out there and do this once a month or once a week so that you're not wasting time going back and forth. All right, so today I want to focus on, for our little motivation before we start batching, something called the 4 for More plan. So right now, one of the main focuses that MeetEdgar suggests doing is growing your audience. So if you're not someone who can sell because you're a brick and mortar store right now and you're still looking for a way to pivot, which we definitely have resources for you. If you need them, email support@meetedgar.com and we will send them to you. But we want everyone to start growing their audience right now. It is a great time because people are consuming content at huge rates. So the 4 for More plan starts out super simple. It starts with consistency. Your MeetEdgar schedule allows for that consistency. You can do really cool things with the categories and schedule by doing things like creating a category and calling it Motivational Monday. Every single Monday, your followers know you're going to start them out with an inspirational quote in the morning. You can pop that category on only on Mondays, and you can use language that is like Motivational Monday in order to put those posts out, but you'll know that category is on your schedule only on Mondays, so it'll only go out there, right? Consistency goes into the fact that you want to be following up every single day with your followers. You want to be showing up for them because we all know that trends move so quickly online, right? People are coming and going with new businesses, new influencers all the time, and people want to have that care in their heart that you're going to be there for the long run before they hand over a like to you or before they start following your page. So the reason that scheduling works really well is because it creates that consistency for your followers. They know the type of content to expect from their page. They know you're going to show up, and they know you're going to add value to their lives. So think about what your followers go through throughout a day. Map out every single thing they do in a day and think how your categories can support the daily lifestyle of your ideal follower. Think what they do when they get up in the morning. What type of post do they want to see? All the way down to when they're at home, would they rather see a video or would they rather answer a question? And use the categories to make sure your content is matching your followers' day. So that's how you're going to create consistency in step 1 of the 4 for More plan. Step 2 is engagement. Guys, engagement is huge on social media. We all know this. I harp on it all the time that if you're someone who's just posting and ghosting, that's not a way to create a community or a conversation to have with your followers. So when we talk about social media automation, a lot of the time people shy away from it thinking about bots and really terrible stuff like that, right? But that's not what automation is about. Automation is doing the tasks that are taking up your time, like the admin work of having to log into each and every one of your social media accounts. And that's going to waste a lot of time. You're going to be distracted on there. You're going to have to do this maybe when you're like hopping into a meeting rather than when your audience is online the most. So the automation part comes in when Edgar can send your posts out. But you still have an obligation to go in there and to make sure you're engaging with people who are commenting with you and make sure you're engaging with other people in like Facebook groups that are similar to your product niche or Instagram hashtags that you know your ideal follower would hang out in. So the second part of 4 for More is make sure you're setting aside 20 minutes a day to respond to followers and to reach out to new people online and start to network. Explore hashtags in Instagram and go leave some valuable comments on people who might need your product or service. Don't try to sell to them, just start a conversation so people are aware of your brand. Join Facebook groups to start engaging with people and to offer value. Joining Facebook groups is another bonus because you can start to see the questions that people are asking in those groups, and you can then start creating content to answer those questions. So it is a really great place not only to research, but to make sure you're offering value and engaging. And always remembering the content that you're creating is all about having engagement. You want someone to talk back to you. Your followers are real people on the other side of that screen. So never lose touch of that, and that's truly how you're going to win the meaningful social interaction there. All right, so number 3 of the 4 for more is have an opinion, stand for something, and have a recognizable brand voice. So I always like to say you need to have an opinion and stand for something because that's what's going to separate you from other people in the crowd. If you don't stand for something specific, anyone can then choose any other brand besides yours when it comes to getting your content, right? So you need to make sure if you think about something in your industry different from others, that you're putting it out there. You also need to make sure you're injecting a little bit more personality than you might be used to. On social media, it's not about selling the what. It's not about selling your product or your service necessarily. Of course, you need to do some promotion around that and some how-to tutorials, but the why you started your business and the who you are is the way you're going to attract the ideal niche who is going to really gravitate towards you versus someone else. So make sure that you put out there your opinion and you put out there your brand voice. You know, for example, at MeetEdgar, there's other scheduling tools that you could use. But our opinion about evergreen posting and being able to write your status update once and have it promoted multiple times is a little bit different than the other schedulers. And that's something we put out there. Our brand voice is also super recognizable as one that's a little bit sarcastic, a little bit funny, lighthearted, and really inspirational. That might be a little bit different than other schedulers out there. So see how these things need to be recognizable across networks and recognizable to your specific personality. So make sure you have it in your mind what your opinion is, what that is going to say to your followers, and put that out there. All right, the last one is right before we get into the batching, of course, batching and planning content ahead of the time. So those are your 4 for more steps of how you can start to grow your audience right now, and don't overcomplicate it because it truly is that simple of making sure you have a system set up and making sure you consistently show up for your followers. So planning your content ahead of time is really important. Otherwise, social media becomes something that is done just in your spare time, which often means it's done in a lackadaisical way. You don't have intent behind every single post you're putting out there, and your followers will feel that. So respect your followers' time. Remember there are people on the other side of that screen reading it, and actually plan your content out ahead of time. And it's really not about doing this when things start back up again right now. It's about doing this now. You need to have a presence on social media now. If you have a product or service that can help someone solve their pain point, bring more joy to their life, it's your responsibility to get that message out there. So don't be hiding. This is your time to step up as a leader in your community because people are following you. They trust you as a leader. So make sure that you're doing that now and taking that responsibility pretty seriously in the content that you're writing. So the core mission of your business hasn't changed, right? You have a mission statement, you have your values. How you get there and the content that we're going to be batching today might be a little bit different. You might have to move some campaigns around. MeetEdgar has ways that you can put your campaigns on hold and you can add in some new coronavirus specific messaging right now if you need, and we can go over some of those strategies. But make sure every status update we write today is put through a filter and a lens of your core mission of why you started your company, what your mission is, and share your values still. Because these things, they're here for times like these the most. So that when you get a little confused or things get a little chaotic, you have your mission and your values to fall back on. And that's what's going to push your company forward and truly make a difference in your followers' lives. And we don't want our messaging to fall tone deaf. So I don't know about you, but if you watch any news right now, you'll notice that a lot of the actual commercials right now have this "we're going through this together" vibe. They have scenes of people in hospitals and stuff like that. So take what traditional media is doing and remember that social media is pretty similar in that way. Make sure you're not sourcing images and photos of people in big, large groups going to a concert or something. That would be a tone deaf message, right? Make sure you're taking into account what people are going through right now, because that is going to be the essence of resonating with your followers, is knowing what they're going through in their life. So remember these things for sure. All right, so let's jump on in and batch some content. So as I was saying before, don't overthink it. What do you personally need to be inspired and feel motivated right now? Think about what you would like to hear and offer that to your community. If you don't have an inspirational quotes category within Edgar, I would love for you to just jump right on in there and create one now. Now, they don't have to be like 100% girly inspiration that a lot of the times we think about that. There's a ton of business leaders out there who provide inspiration, and you can just go Google top business quotes in my industry. So if we were doing that, we could say top business quotes from influencers in the social media space. If you Google that, you will get a list of quotes coming up there. And these are really great quotes that we could then start sharing with our audience, not only to inspire you to keep going with your messaging and to keep showing up on social media, but this is really shareable content. Quotes are some of the most shareable content on social media. It's not going to be branded by you. It's not your thought leadership or anything like that. And a lot of the time, people don't share content that has like your logo and brand on it. So do some testing out of just doing some like strictly like text only inspirational quotes, some on beautiful backgrounds in Canva. You can still bring your brand colors into that, but perhaps consider leaving your logo off of a few of them. You can add it to a few of them and do some testing to see who shares what more. But I want you to make sure you have some inspirational quotes within your Edgar account now. So go out and Google that, go out right now and put that inspirational category in there and start testing if you can get more people to share your content, because this is about audience growth. If people are sharing your inspirational quotes to their page, it's much more likely that you'll get their audience's eyes on your brand, right? So it's word of mouth marketing through social media. So go on out there and Google inspirational quotes for XYZ industry and start adding them to your Edgar account if you haven't yet. All right. The next type of content we can batch on up today is ask questions. So on those spreadsheets that we shared in the chat at the beginning, there are some questions that you can consider asking. And these are applicable to any industry that you're in, because it doesn't matter who you are. You always like to ask people like, where is your favorite place to go read about this industry? Or what was the last book that inspired you? So questions like these that might not have to do exactly with your business are great to ask on social media for engagement, because people love to talk about themselves and they want to be social on social media. You just have to open up the avenue and allow them to see that you want that. Other types of questions you can ask that are really fun is like either or would you rather questions are really popular because people love to jump on in and give their opinions about that. Fill in the blank questions are really popular. If you're someone who really needs ideas on how to get more engagement and you find people aren't answering back, ask people to answer with an emoji or ask people to drop a GIF in about their mood that day. People love sharing their GIF game on social media, and it's a great way to get engagement on your posts. Another reason that questions are so important on social media is because, again, it's this idea that if you go on, let's use the marriage analogy. There's a few analogies I go to for this, but I like the marriage one the best. If you go on a first date and you ask someone to marry you right away, you're probably not going to get a yes. But if you spend the time of building rapport, asking questions, getting to know each other a little bit better, then eventually when you ask them to marry you, they'll have more reason to say yes. Same deal with social media. You need to ask your followers things. You need to make sure that you are getting yourself out there in a way that people build rapport and feel comfortable talking with you and having a conversation. So go to those spreadsheets and go ahead and look at some of the questions on there, or similar to the quotes of what we were saying, go ahead and make a questions category within MeetEdgar and go ahead and Google some fun icebreaker questions. I love these so much because they're super funny. Some can be like, if you were a hamburger, what condiment would you be? Isn't that a fun question to answer on social media? So give your followers a chance to communicate with you. Like I said, they don't all have to be about your industry. They most certainly can be sometimes, but make a fun questions category too to get to know your followers on a more personal level. And this is just going to be really great research for you to see what their interests and answers are in these areas. Okay. On the topic of asking questions, ask for people's opinions as well. So if you're going to give people an avenue in order to kind of open up and reach out for you, one of the ways to do this is opinionated questions. So make sure that you're letting people know what your opinion about a specific article or something is and ask for theirs back. Again, it's the meaningful social interaction that you're getting the algorithm love from. And what that is comments between people. And people love to share their opinions. Try not to be too polarizing right now, please, when you're asking about this. Be smart about it. But ask opinions about what's going on in your industry. Ask opinions about, your best place to order food from right now. Ask opinions about that kind of stuff because people love to be helpful and share. One of the things that a lot of influencers are talking about right now is this feeling of helplessness. And if you can actually be helpful, it'll go ahead and get rid of any feelings of helplessness that you have. So give your followers that gift of being able to be helpful to you and recommend stuff, because it'll create a really great vibe for them in order to kind of get out there and have some meaning and produce some helpfulness. I know that's a little bit woo-hooey, but it truly does work. And I would definitely encourage you to get some opinionated questions out there. And it also allows you to put your opinion out about what's going on in your industry. All right, solution-based posting right now is huge. So what solution-based posting is making sure when you go to your followers, you're giving them actionable steps in order to take these steps and put them into getting a result. Because when it comes down to it, when we purchase a product or service, we're purchasing it because we want a certain outcome and we want a certain transformation and we want a certain result, right? So if you can actually get someone a smaller result with something, and they actually see that your process of teaching or your process of giving them advice actually works, it is going to be much more likely when you then comes time to sell to them that they will say yes, because you've built that trust that you're showing them, I can give you results. I can get you to where you want to go. So it doesn't necessarily have to 100% do with your business. What it does have to do with is making sure that you are thinking about what your followers want results-wise. So for example, here at MeetEdgar, we are a social media automation tool, obviously, but people can learn other things besides social media from us, like remote work. We are completely distributed and have been since day one in 2014. So a lot of our community are smaller businesses and smaller startups. And in this space, we can actually offer them solution-based tips on how to work remotely, and how to kind of create a positive team environment and stuff like that. And if we're giving people these solution-based tips on how to work remotely and we get them those results, once it comes time for them to actually need a social media scheduler, our brand is going to pop into their head as someone they trust and something that we have given you results in the past. So do you see how that works? So think about your ideal audience and what they're going through right now and what they might need help with. If you are a lifestyle blogger, think about ways you can talk about homeschooling with your kids right now, or give them activities to do, or how you can create what did we do this weekend? Oh yeah, how you can create homemade hand sanitizer out of aloe vera and just some rubbing alcohol or something like that. It might not have to do exactly with what you usually write about on your blog, but these things are struggles that people are going through now. And if you can get them results with these types of tips, it's building that trust, and trust is everything when it comes to selling on social media. So think about these things when you're creating your tips category. All right, other categories that are really shareable and really great are sharing jokes or memes. Now, of course, you want to be really cognizant of what's going on in the world, but also don't be afraid to shine a little happiness into people's lives. It's really shown in research that happier people solve problems better. So the happiest people in the world aren't the people who are disengaging from what's going on right now. They're the people out there looking for creative solutions in order to solve what's going on in their world. And happy news, people are starved for it. So if you can go ahead and find a really great meme that explains something about your product or service, or a really great joke from your childhood that you remember, share that with your community. Let them know why you love this joke as a child. And you'll get that great sort of nostalgic vibe that goes so well. And you're opening up, again, your personality to people in a way that's great for creating that personal connection. And that is going to be everything when it comes down to people choosing to purchase from you or not, because they feel like they know you on such a core level. So think about your favorite childhood joke and put that in there. Or think about your favorite meme that you've seen recently about things. For the invite for this, I told you guys about a meme that said, why did I even bother buying a 2020 planner? I thought that resonated perfectly because all of us are having to switch around right now. So if you see something like that and it has to do with your followers' lifestyle, go ahead and share it, because we could all use a little joy and happiness, and you could spark that in your followers' day, getting that great emotional connection and opening up your heart to them a little more. All right. Speaking of brightening someone's day, emojis. So often it's hard to get our tone across on social media with just words, right? So oftentimes, I know I read into the subtext of things like text messages all the time, being like, oh my gosh, is that person mad at me? All they said was okay. But if they had taken the time to do a little smiley afterwards, I would have known that was an okay with a good tone. Same with your social media posts. Take some time to add some fun emojis in there. Within MeetEdgar, within the text box, if you open up the Add New Content Composer right now, in the lower left corner, there's actually a little emoji button there that you can just pop up and add your emojis right there. Super duper simple. So don't overcomplicate that, but look at some of the messaging in your tips, your inspirational quotes, your blog post categories, and see if you can add in a little flair with those emojis, because it does go a long way to help produce the tone that you want on social media, and it makes them so much more visual. All right, think about things in your industry and the trends going on right now and share those. People love to stay up to date on what's going on in your industry, right? People love to be the first to know things. That's something that's huge in our culture, of being one of the first, right? So be sure that you're adding some of the industry news things to your RSS feeds, and be sure that you're always scouring for what's going on so that you can make sure you're providing your followers with the most up-to-date news. Now, when you share these things, make sure that you add your own opinion, remember again, to these, and add your own thought leadership. It's a way to make sure that you are standing out as an expert in your industry. Now, you might not know everything about it, and that's okay, because you only have to be a few steps ahead of your followers to be seen as an expert. And that's going to be something that's way more relatable to them than if you are like 10 steps ahead and you're putting that stuff out there that they don't really know what's going on because they haven't had the sort of foundation that you have. So make sure you're thinking about who your followers are, their educational level with what's going on in your industry when you're doing this, but keep people up to date and share your own thoughts about it. If you are doing this within MeetEdgar and you're online, we actually have one other way that you can add content. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch on over to screen share here real quick so I can show you this. And that is with our browser extension. And I'll put in the chat where you can get this, but our browser extension makes adding content from online super easy. So the way you do that here is you can be on any blog article. So this is our blog here at Edgar, but you could be on any news article. You'll notice right up here in the upper right corner, I have this little Edgar icon. Now, when I click this, the Add New Content screen pops up, pre-populated with the headline and URL. So all I need to do is check off the accounts I want it to go out to, assign it to a category, and then I can scroll down and either save it to my library, or if this is like a trending news article that you only want to send once, you can use this little drop-down arrow and you can click Send Now and Save. Send Now and Save will send this to your queue 1 minute after you click this. It'll send out to whatever accounts are attached over here. And then if this is something you don't want to share again, just make sure under advanced settings, you tell Edgar to only use it once. So that's a really great kind of tool tip here. And if you go to our help center and you just type in the word extension, it'll pop on up extension, but I'll also pop it in the chat here now too. So definitely guys, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for putting that extension in there. I'll try not to share my screen too much more throughout this, so hopefully it won't crash. But let's get back to the slides there. But yeah, use that extension. Make sure that you're going out there and looking for ways that you can share industry news. All right. So I also want you to take advantage of that schedule, send, and save feature. Some of my favorite things to do with the schedule, send, and save feature is to go out and Google a list of national holidays. You know the ones I'm talking about, the super funny like National Donut Day or National French Fry Day. All of these things are really, really fun in order for you to share with your followers. So what you want to do here is go ahead and add these in and go ahead and use the schedule, send, and save to go on that day. So for example, here at MeetEdgar, we love to celebrate National Octopus Day, which is on October 8th. So we would go in and we could create a really fun post and call it schedule, send, and save. You can go on in there and do it for October 8th, add the photo in there, and you're good to go, right? So make sure you go out there and look for some of these, because this is what's going to be resonating on that day, right? So people are seeing it in their feed already. And if you can join the discussion of what's going on there, it's going to really do well for you for kind of, again, jumping in on a trend that's going on. I like to think about this as like a party, right? So if you're at a party, it's much easier to join a conversation than it is to start a new one. So make sure you're taking that into account as well. What are people already talking about on these days? And schedule some posts for your brand to go out. One thing I like to point out about the schedule, send, and save feature is that this is completely separate from the weekly repeating schedule. So make sure when you're using the schedule, send, and save feature to send your one-off posts that you're not doing it at the exact same time. You have a time slot on your schedule. If you do, 2 posts will go out. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just like to point that out to you guys. Oh, Maureen, that's such a nice compliment. Thank you so much. Cool. So next is, what do you do in a real community? So think about what you do, again, when you're out like chatting with people at a dinner party or something like that. You share things that you like and you share things about yourself. So this part is going to be injecting. Remember when we were talking about not just selling the what, but selling the who and the why of your business on social media to help you grow and to help you attract the right people, because it's far more important to have the right people than it is to have just a million kind of random lukewarm people connecting to you. And how that's going to help connect is by sharing a personal experience. So we're going to go through some ideas with this, but sharing a personal experience is really cool because it's not just sharing it for sharing the story's sake. You can share a cool story from your childhood about something that you perhaps overcame or something that you went through and relate it back to like what you're doing now or why you're doing it now. So this is something like, for me, I actually grew up as a military brat, so we moved around a lot. And during that time, I actually became someone who had a ton of pen pals. So writing letters is something supernatural to me. And communicating is something supernatural because I was on the phone a lot. I was writing letters to my friends all over the world a lot. So this is something that, again, kind of to Maureen's point here, helped me develop my communication skills. And I can tell that story. And if I was perhaps someone who is teaching copywriting, I can say how you can take these elements into your copywriting. Do you see how that story is way easier to remember than if I just told you some points about copywriting? Because you're going to remember that because our brains are primed to remember stories. And you'll remember that connection to me way more than you'll remember just the copywriting tips. So think about the things in your life that you can share these personal experiences from and then relate them back to actually your business. Think about how they made you stronger, how they made you a better leader, and share these things with people because they'll remember you way better. So make a note to yourself to start brainstorming these personal experiences. All right, next is to share a personal story of transformation because, again, people purchase on transformation. So what this means is thinking about the before, the during, and the after. So think about the things that your ideal audience wants to accomplish and think about something in your life that's similar to this. So you can show them, that you're resonating with what they're going through, right? So you can show them that you understand their feelings of being a little bit scared to pull out their credit card and purchase from you. You understand their feelings of wanting that afterwards, of wanting to actually get that transformational feeling. So if you can share that personal story of your struggle, and then you can share your outcome you had, it'll resonate in your followers' head of something that they're going through, and they'll trust you so much more. And again, if you do it on a personal level and you take these things of not just doing it with testimonials, which of course we want you to share your followers' stories and your success stories as well. But if you do it on a personal level, it'll make you stand out so much more to your followers and it'll give them that personal connection. So when it comes time to buy, you are on top of mind and that brand awareness vibe is going strong. All right, so again, sharing things you like or don't like and having that conversation with your followers can go into your recommended reads or curated content category. If you've listened to a podcast or if you watched a YouTube video that you love, go ahead and put it in there and tell your followers why you loved it. It's likely you have some of the same interests, and it'll let them open up their world to what you're consuming. This is one of the things that I think a lot of people get scared to do on social, is to send traffic to other people's content rather than just to your site. But when it comes down to it, this is a hugely valuable thing for your followers, because they don't have to go out and Google and source this information. You are providing it to them. And if you've done the work of gaining their trust, they then know, okay, this is worth my time to consume. And if you can save someone time in this world, you are creating a really good bond with them. We are all starved for time, and we all want these tips and tricks that you might already have. So share your favorite podcasts, share your favorite articles and videos that you love to create that great vibe with your followers, that they don't have to go out and source that information on their own. When you're doing this, make sure you're sharing your perspective, your insights, and your knowledge about what's worked for you. Because again, I'm going to say it over and over, you are the differentiator in your business. And I think a lot of the time we get scared to show our face or to show our opinions. But if you look at the people who are gaining attention on social media and carving out a name for themselves, they have their face in their feed, they have their opinions in their feed, and they're not afraid to say who they're for and who they're not for. If you're aiming to please everyone, you're going to please no one. So it's okay if you have an opinion that's a little bit more polarizing, perhaps, about what's going on in your industry. But if it's true to your core and if it's on brand for your mission statement, share that out, because the people who are going to resonate it are the people you want in your community. All right, so the next content category you can consider making is a Throwback Thursday category. So this is fun, again, because you're joining a conversation that's already going on. So if you can pop open your Edgar account and add in a category called Throwback Thursday, this is great for sharing behind the scenes content. For sharing content that you perhaps haven't shared in a while, because resharing things like your origin story is pretty important online, because you're always gaining new followers, and it's likely all of your followers don't know where you began. And as humans, we like to be oriented in space and time. What are some of the first questions we ask people when we meet them? Where are you from, right? So people want to know that about your brand and about your business too. So let them know how you started, why you started, your values. We buy on emotion and we buy on values way more than we buy on logic. So make sure a lot of your social media posts have these things in them. It's great to share pictures of yourself in your Throwback Thursday category here as well. And this is truly great evergreen content that is joining in a conversation and a structure that people are already familiar with on social media. So it's not like you're asking them to take time out of their day to figure out what a Throwback Thursday post is. People already know that language. So you're asking people to go ahead and learn your origin story, learn all of that fun stuff. And then you can go ahead and pop on that category only on Thursdays on your schedule. All right, so next is, right now especially, get your MTV Cribs vibe on. Show your remote workspace. This is great behind the scenes content. People are itching for tips, like I said, about how to work remotely well right now, and it's a conversation that you can join and not have to start. And you might get a lot of shares on these types of posts because people love to have this conversation. So if you have a great hack for how to set up your desk, or how to stay organized, or how to make sure you stay sane with your kids homeschooling and working at the same time, snap a photo of your personal environment and share those tips. It's a result-oriented thing, and it's joining a discussion right now. Within MeetEdgar, again, if you only want to share these things during this time, you can create a category that's specific for this time frame. You could call it like coronavirus tips or something like that. That category can then be loaded with all this content. You can pop that category onto your schedule and let it run through the time frame that you need. Once things are over, you can take that category off of your schedule, and those posts can still live in your library if you'd like to repurpose them. Or since that category is not on your schedule, they won't send out. So this is great to do right now for a little bit of crisis messaging, but this is also a great workflow to take for really making sure that you're speaking into the trends of what's going on. So you could create like a summertime category versus a wintertime category to speak into the seasons, or you could create a mini campaign for like a webinar you're doing, and you could load up all of your different webinar registration posts in there, pop it on your schedule a couple of weeks ahead of time. Then once the webinar is over, you can take it off, but those posts will remain in your library and they can be utilized in the future if you ever do run that webinar again. So doing these seasonal categories is really great for making sure you resonate with what's going on in the world today, and especially adding in things like fun remote workspaces. Right now, especially, I want you to think about ways you can add more variations to your posts. So variations in Edgar are specifically built for Twitter. So if you open up your Add New Content button in your Edgar account now, in the lower left corner, you'll notice that there's an Add Variations button. So this was built because Twitter does have a term of service that says you cannot send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. So for this reason, you'll notice in your library that things are going to start expiring once they send to Twitter once. However, we really want you to stay true to this evergreen style of posting, of making sure you're going to resurface your posts in the future. So if you click to add a variation, a second text box will pop up where you're able to ask a different question, use a different headline, tell a different story about that post. I suggest right now batching out a ton of variations in your free time. This not only allows you to make sure that you're hitting a message that resonates and adding a little variety, because really we never know what language is going to hit someone at the right time to compel them to go over to our site to drive more traffic to the blog. But also it allows you to A/B test. So in your history tab within Edgar, if you go to your history tab, there's a little button under the content that says view performance history. This will allow you to see which variation has done the best, which one received the most click-through rates. And that way, again, you can notice patterns in the time of day that these were sent out, as well as the language used. So Maura, for example, runs our social media, and she notices a lot of the time when we ask questions about our blog posts, people will be more compelled to click through than when we just use the headline. And we wouldn't know that without doing a little A/B testing and without doing these variations. So think about the ways you can use variations right now to test new things, because you need to go into social media with an experimental mindset and let the content structure guide you for what your followers are wanting. It is called social media for a reason, so we need to remember we have to listen to what our followers are signaling to us from what they're sharing, commenting, and liking on, and using those bright spots to produce more content like that. So variations can be used for any single network, but they were specifically built for Twitter. All right, so more content is selling content. We need to make sure that we're still selling right now, right? And the trick to selling on social media is to make sure you feel like you're not selling at all. And what this is about is making sure that you are doing posting in a value-oriented way. So here at MeetEdgar, we could say something like, we're a social media automation tool. Here are all of our features. Not super inspiring or fun for our followers, right? But if we turn that around and said, we're a social media automation tool, here's a quiz to find out how much time each week you could save by automating social media. That's way more compelling for someone to actually click on and go ahead and take that quiz. So think about the ways that you can actually make it more valuable for your followers than just listing your features out, because that's what social media marketing is all about. Another example for this is saying, you know, I'm a photographer. Here are the photos that I took. Again, kind of cool, but not super inspiring. If we flip that to saying, I'm a photographer, here's a checklist you can download, or here's a checklist I made for you that has everything you need to be picture perfect ready for your wedding. Way better, right? Way more valuable. So think about the ways that you can produce selling yourself or capturing people's email addresses in your lead magnets in a value-oriented way, rather than just listing your features out there. And your selling posts on social media are going to go skyrocketing through the roof and be way better. Other ways of selling right now especially are hosting a flash sale exclusively for your social community, right? So this could be a coupon code that you use that's like Facebook 2020 or something like that, that you can offer to only your Facebook audience or to only your Instagram audience. This is really kind of a way of showing your gratitude for people following you on social, and it allows them to see that they get something special for following you on social media rather than just finding you online. Because again, when we go to social media, we don't want to go there to be sold to and to see brands in our feed. We go there to connect with our friends and family. So you need to give people a little bit of a reason sometimes to follow your brand. So think about a way that you could do a flash sale just for your social media audience. All right, other ways of selling right now is think about what people want. They want connection. So can you do something like a buy one, give one promotion? Can you go ahead and say, if you purchase this course from me, I'll give you a code that you can send it to one of your friends and you can take it together. Or if you purchase my book, I'll send you a copy that you can give to a friend. Whatever your industry is, I bet you can find a buy one, give one workaround for this. This is creating a sense of community that is really going along with the trends of we're all in this together. Again, we need to make sure that we're not falling tone deaf to what people are already speaking about. So a buy one, give one fits in perfectly with that vibe that the whole world is going through right now. And it allows you to not only open your brand up to a new purchaser, but that purchaser is then giving someone your brand and giving someone access. And when it comes down to kind of the friends recommending brands over someone just finding it organically online, think about how much more trust you would have in a brand if your friend told you about it rather than if you just stumbled upon it. Because you trust your friends, you trust their opinion. So this is a great way to get a little bit more word of mouth marketing out there as well. Other ways of selling is how can you host a giveaway or how can you collaborate for something right now? So can you give away a free month if you're a software subscription, or can you give away some free product if you're a product-based business? Or can you go ahead and collaborate with someone else to do a kind of list share giveaway in some way? This is great right now as well, just again to make sure that your posts are showing how much you appreciate your followers. And it's a great way to open up your brand name to another brand name's list. So look for people who have similar audiences to you and think if you can do a joint webinar giveaway or if you can host a social media giveaway or takeover so that your brand name can get out there a little bit further. All right, guys, so those are the tips for kind of batching your content right now. And it really is your chance to be a force of positivity for your followers. So definitely step up with that leadership vibe and make sure that you're adding in those emojis, adding in those personal stories and connecting people, because that is truly what people want. And remember, it's never focusing on the people that you don't have when you're growing your audience. I know that this whole webinar was around ideas on how to grow your audience, but it's never about the people you don't have. That's not why you're creating your content. I want you to remember that you need to focus on showing up for the community that you do have and to build that trust. And then the word of mouth marketing will come, you'll find that momentum and your community will start to grow. So make sure when you're creating content, you are truly remembering there are followers behind that screen and that you need to experiment with these different types. I know a lot of the time we get afraid to do these inspirational quotes or these personal stories, but start experimenting with it. You can start slow and add one category of a personal story to your schedule a week. Just one post a week if you're nervous to show your face or to share a personal story, and let your followers tell you if they like that content or not. Pay attention to the content that they're liking and commenting on in order to guide your content strategy a little bit further. All right, so that was all of our batching slides and everything today. I will stick around to answer any questions. I know Maura's fingers have been typing feverishly, keeping up with them all. But if she missed any, I'm going to scroll back through a little bit. Please, if your question didn't get answered, go ahead and type it in here again. If you want to see something in MeetEdgar about how to do it, let me know. I will try to share my screen again if it crashes. Remember, I'll be right back. But we can always share the screen. We can always do that kind of fun stuff to make sure you are getting your questions answered here. Kristen asks if there is a way to keep your account clean when the Twitter posts expire. So one good suggestion here, Kristen, is in your library in MeetEdgar. Let me pull that up real quick. There is a way that you can filter the library. So I would suggest, making sure that you come in here once a month or whenever you're batching, and you use these filters over on the left-hand side. Oh, sorry, Kirsten, I do apologize about that. So over here on the left-hand side, if you select your social network here as Twitter, if you select your social network as Twitter, not the account there, and you scroll to the bottom and you can see, you can go ahead and, oops, that's my cue. So if you go to your library, not your queue, and you select your social network as Twitter, and you scroll down, you'll notice you have has publishable variations. And if you go ahead and click yes, it'll show you all of the tweets that still can send out to Twitter because they have variations. If you click no, Edgar will go ahead and show you all of the tweets that are expired for Twitter. So I would suggest just using these filters. You can use it in a way that you can do category specific and Twitter and has publishable variations. If you wanted to see the ones that have them, click yes. If you want to see the ones that are expired, click no there. Otherwise, just leave those tweets in there so that you have a record of screen share again. Thanks for sticking around. So I would use those filters, Kirsten. Other things, Oh, thanks, Diane. Thanks so much for joining. It was so great having you here. Yes, Maureen. So if you mark a post as use once within MeetEdgar, we do actually keep it in your library. It'll be kind of grayed out a little bit, just letting you know that it's already been used. But where I was showing you those filters, there is a use once filter in the library as well that you can use. And you can go ahead and click edit on any post that's been used once. And if you deselect the use once and you save it again, that post can be reestablished. So if you wanted to set a new date and time for when you wanted to go out, all of those will remain in your library. Edgar never gets rid of any content. So if you expire it, or if it expires due to Twitter's terms of service, you can always find that content and you can always either add a variation or you can unexpire it if it's for another network if you want. But yeah, that'll always remain in there and you can always use it again. Easy to find with the filters over on the left in your library. Yeah, Kirsten, we definitely recommend keeping them in your library just so that, again, you know that what's been sent out and you're not breaking Twitter's terms of service that way. Good questions here. Let me scroll back a little bit. Yeah, Dawn, so I definitely recommend on LinkedIn that you try telling some personal business stories. So people go to LinkedIn to learn a lot, right? But it's also becoming much more of a social network. And we're seeing people and clients of MeetEdgar sharing things like inspirational quotes and getting good traction there. But especially sharing personal messages about how you created your business or what, if you're not the creator or owner of your business, kind of what you're doing in your role. Sharing these sort of personal stories are great on LinkedIn right now because you can become a sort of mentor to other people in your industry and people want to collaborate and learn and network there. So I would 100% recommend adding in your personal touches to things and especially sharing industry articles, not even ones that you wrote, but curated content with your opinion about them on LinkedIn. That's going to be huge for making sure that you're positioning yourself as an authority in your industry and connecting with other people. LinkedIn is also great because sometimes people who discover you on LinkedIn aren't necessarily going to be your clients, but they might actually be the gatekeeper to your clients, right? They might actually be the decision maker or an influencer who can recommend your tool or service or product to someone they work with. So think about kind of the different kind of networks that you create on LinkedIn and how you would talk to those people and test the messaging out there, but 100% anywhere that you're sharing your business message, make sure you're putting the who and the why in there, especially on LinkedIn as well. All right, cool. So it looks like we have no more new questions. I'll scroll back through a little bit. Maura might drop off here. I want to respect her time. It's been an hour with you guys now, which I'm so grateful for you guys joining. It does mean the world to me that I get to connect this. It's one of my favorite things to do here at MeetEdgar. But I'll stick around a little longer. If you have questions, please keep typing them in. And remember at the beginning, I did share that we do office hours every single day at MeetEdgar. So if you have more questions that are related to getting set up rather than batching content and stuff, please join in one of those. I will put the link in one more time here. This link will always be updated. You can come to as many sessions as you want, and they are super unstructured. I promise I won't talk super fast at you with slides in those. And then this YouTube playlist that we shared at the beginning here, I'll pop in one more time. These are just like 2-minute videos of each section of Edgar to remind you how to use him. And lastly, go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com. We would love to hear from you. We also go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube every single day. So if you want to join in any live sort of tips and tricks, just check there. The replays are always on our YouTube channel, which is just our MeetEdgar channel. So Lucy, I would definitely recommend to ask questions anyway. So even if you're afraid that no one is going to answer, you will get there. That consistency matters so much. And we need to show up as if we had 1,000 million followers who wanted to answer our questions now. And we need to show up in that same way with that same presence. So I know it can be kind of scary. So the things I recommend about asking questions, if you don't have a hugely engaged community now, is making the answers easier. So ask the fill in the blank questions, or ask the drop in a GIF in, or drop an emoji in questions, because that is going to be an easy way that you're asking your followers to answer it, rather than just this open-ended question. So try it out, especially with the GIF one, and the open-ended ones, fill in the blank questions are easy because people only have to type like one word in rather than communicating a whole sentence or answer. So start out letting people know, or even ask people to type the word, like, type the word Edgar in if you agree, or something like that, just to get people used to the idea that you want to communicate with them. So that's definitely what I would go ahead and recommend doing there. So I definitely recommend staying on Facebook, Maureen, 100%. It might not be as big of a reach anymore, and it is a little bit more of a pay-to-play space. However, think about what social proof is. When you're learning about a product or a service, what do you happen to do oftentimes? You go to social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, a lot of the time it's Facebook. And if you don't have a presence as a brand or a company there, people are not going to have a good first impression of you that way. They want to see that you are there and that you are communicating with their followers, because once they purchase from you, they want to know how to reach you. And this is another reason that having engagement on social media is a great way to show people that you outcare your competitors, right? So we all want to know that we are doing business with a brand that cares about their customers. And if you don't have a presence on Facebook and someone goes there and they just see you haven't posted in months, that's not going to be a great signal to them that you are someone who cares about your community. So I 100% recommend still being on there. And that's why using a scheduler like Edgar is so cool, because you can amplify out your message to Facebook, even if that's not where your community is most active. So for example, here at Edgar, our community actually is most active on Twitter, we find. That's where we answer and ask the most questions. That's where we share the most with our community. That's just kind of where our community likes to hang out with us. But we still share a lot of our content, majority, almost all of our content, to Facebook, to have a presence there. And we still know that some people consume content there. Each and every follower matters. So even if it isn't going to be where the majority of your followers are engaging with you, please still have a presence there. If your content is kind of specified for Twitter, still amplify it out by checking off that Facebook checkbox within Edgar. It doesn't cost you any more time or effort there, but 100% still be on Facebook. So when people are searching for you, they see that social proof. Yeah, 100%. I say stay there. Facebook, yes, it's pay to play, unfortunately, a lot of the time, but you need to have a really up-to-date feed and a really exciting one to convince people that your product or service is there in the long run. Cool. Great questions, guys. Again, this was a delight. Please join me in office hours. I have a session in a couple hours here today. I have one tomorrow. I have one every day next week, and I'd love to see you pop in if you do have any other questions. Or like I said, please email support@meetedgar.com, and we're more than happy to email questions, stuff like that. We are 100% here for you on social. Maura will be answering any questions there. If you want to tweet at MeetEdgar, she's great at giving quick answers there as well. Or find us on Instagram. We're doing a cool thing that we're sharing how businesses are pivoting on Instagram. So other community members in Edgar have submitted stories on how they've pivoted their business. If you have a story about how you pivoted that you'd like us to share on our Instagram account, to share the love, to spread it out to some small businesses, email support@meetedgar.com and we can get you hooked up with that form as well. Last but not least, we have our Social Brilliant course, and it is in Edgar University, but it's also free to anyone right now. So if you have a friend or a family member who's looking to pivot their business and to get started online, this is an amazing course to start taking and to start kind of spreading around to those friends and family who are looking to pivot, because it was developed by Laura, who's the founder of MeetEdgar, and it's all based upon how she grew our community from basically nothing all the way up, and it's kind of our flagship course here. So please go ahead and share this out. I'll pop it in here. If you haven't taken it yet, 100% take it. It's kind of the foundation of why the evergreen and category-based system of posting works so well. But if you have someone, go ahead and share it out there, and we can make sure that we spread the love and make sure everyone has the resources they need in order to pivot. Cool. Oh, Maureen, I'm so glad you love it. Cassidy, we change up from our content for different platforms, more B2B corporate on LinkedIn, more community awareness on Facebook, and more basic convo RSS feed stuff on Twitter. I love that so much, Cassidy. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, and within Edgar, you know, you could create different network specific categories as well by saying like posts for Twitter, posts for LinkedIn, if you wanted to do different types of content on each platform. But that is definitely a pro tip. I really appreciate you sharing that, Cassidy. All right, guys, I'm going to go pop on off and drink some water here. Thanks again for joining on in today. We do these every single month, so come on back. I'll be sending out the replay and some emails to you later today as well. And email me back if you have any questions. Thanks so much, guys.